We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny sun.
Where professors to not look at the chat
live.
and just pretend it's a small conversation.
Hey guys, how we doing? Welcome to the first time that I have hosted a debate online. This is going to be between Professor Games and The Mind of God, and moderated by Jared from AT2 Productions. I'm going to kind of sit back in the chat and look after you guys, read out any super chats that you put in. Just before we get going, Mind of God, got a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
You do realize that I can see the comments on Mr. Cheswick's videos, right?
Yes. What did I say?
No, that it's obviously all a conspiracy that, like, I've got subs and stuff and getting super chats.
Well, I didn't make a comment about the super chat because I think that the money part I have no issues with, in fact. But the coordinated conspiracy, which I talked about in my chat, in my comment, I mean, I have to believe that, really, even if I...
What, as in, this is all a coordinated conspiracy with, like, me and Jared and stuff?
No, not just with you guys, with a majority of the world.
Right, okay. Because it kind of came across as you were saying that, like, the whole Jared and A2D Productions helping people was a conspiracy, like Cheswick was trying to point out.
No, I mean, you have to, man, we know the what's on the table here is huge. Huge.
Yeah, obviously. It's a huge issue for a lot of people. But anyway, I just wanted to get your clarification of what your comment meant for that.
No, I will never make a comment about the money stuff because I think if you're doing work that people appreciate, you deserve to make money. I would, once in a while I pay the non sequitur because they're creating a platform that costs money. I have no issues with that. I will never change my stance on that.
Okay, all right. Anyway, like I said, I'm going to pass this over to Jared now to look after the debate. However you guys want to do it, it's all up to you. I'm going to sit quietly in the side. So over to you, Jared.
All right, good evening, and thank you for hosting this fight. And actually, before we really get into this, I just have one request for you, Mind of God, if you feel up to it. Mm-hmm. Next time you comment on Mr. Cheswick's work, remind him that he has a standing invite to join any of my live streams to talk about any of the particulars of this grand conspiracy he so chooses. It seems like he is afraid to actually address the people he's accusing of these quote-unquote nefarious acts. So maybe he'll take the invite better from you. I don't know.
I don't know him personally, obviously, but fair enough.
Oh, neither do I. It's just every video of his, I've noticed that my name comes up. I comment and remind him, you have an invite, and the next show will be this Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. But before we get to that, we are going to, all right, question for the two combatants. Do you want this to be more of a formal debate, or would you rather it be a moderated discussion that is more free-flowing back and forth?
I'm open to a little bit of both. I have a few questions I've been meaning to ask the Mind of God on certain things, and I would also like to try to compare whatever model he is advocate for in terms of the globe, and maybe we could have a back and forth on why these glaring contradictions and what better comports to reality, as rhetoric would say.
All right. Well, on that case, then we will do a mix. We'll go ahead. It won't necessarily be timed, but you'll have your opportunities to give a brief introduction. After the introduction, we will go, each of you will lay out a brief overview of what your stance is and your leading rationale for that stance, and then after that we'll go into the back and forth where you two can probe each other's points that were made and even expound on them into further detail. Savvy?
Yeah,
sure.
All right. Well, before we start, I have a small thing to say. This is a little bit of a code. So Phoenix 422, Lab Master Daddy, the Eagle has landed.
Roger 1040, message received and understood.
All right, and with that, we'll go ahead and go with the introductions.
Oh.
And to show that we do not play favorites, we'll let Mind of God go ahead and give his introduction first. Go ahead and tell the world about yourself.
Okay. So, guys, you probably have seen me on a past debate, and again, I appreciate hosting this dialogue. So, my handle is called Mind of God. You can call me that, or Shirag, or my friends call me CP, which are my initials, if that's a little bit easier. I'll respond to any of those. So, obviously, I am a flat earther. I got into this thing around 2015 timeframe, care of our good friend Russian Vids, largely Russian Vids videos, and Eric Dubé, and then I sort of started going down that trail. And so I would say maybe in the last year or so, it's been a strong enough conviction to take my views onto kind of public, outside of people in my circle. And my angle, I don't own like a high res camera or any of that kind of stuff. So I personally am thankful for people who do that kind of work in the quote unquote field. I'm more of a person who looks at the model, the concept, some of the underpinnings of it, and nitpick at that, really. And so I'm open to discussing, any aspect of this debate, or spirituality and God and all that kind of stuff. So Professor Games reached out to me and just wanted to chat. We had some technical issues on my live stream. So again, I'm thankful for this opportunity.
All right. Pleasure to have you. And Professor Games, go ahead and tell the audience why you're such a shitty person. I mean, such an amazing contestant to have on this show.
Ouch. Okay, might as well get this out of the way. Hello, everyone. I'm Thomas E. Mack. I'm also known as Professor Games. My YouTube channel is mostly to do with gaming and general hobbies that I find interesting, but I still quite advocate the scientific method and critical thinking, which is why sometimes I'll play it off like, why I went with Professor. How I got into this whole flat Earth debacle and researching on the entire stance on it is after finding great science advocate and debunking YouTube channels, Professor Stick, Vice Rhino, Armored Skeptic, Sir Sick, Cool Hard Logic, Red's Rhetoric, and as of recently, and one man I am very, very impressed with and glad to call a friend is Fight the Flat Earth.
Thank you very much. It's been great to know you as well.
And thank you for your service. Even though you didn't serve my country, but we're allies, so it counts. Anyway, so yes, little things about me, is that, fair warning, I will have my little quirks possibly due to my high functioning autism, but generally I will try to be open and willing to discuss with Mind of God. I do believe that, at least in face value, he is far more willing to listen in terms of his opposition than many, many other big stream flat earth believers, whether they would be people just into it to make an easy buck by scamming people like Jeranism, or are rather zealous and horribly regressive like Southern Israelites. I believe that, at least at face value, Mind of God is open to a proper discussion, and I'm greatly hoping that this demeanor he is not just the face he wears whenever he is in the public, and then he just becomes rather intolerable in comment sessions like I've heard many times. I am by no means as adept into knowledge of the globe model as, say, Fight the Flat Earth or many others, but I intend to use what knowledge I have learned from my own research and to ask questions about the Flat Earth to see if Mind of God has anything that might convince me otherwise of my position.
All right. And with that, let's just go ahead and get into the nuts and bolts of it. Mind of God, what are the highlights of why you hold the position that you claim to? By the way, the word orthogonal is banned.
Dang. I was looking forward to asking him questions on that, but rules are rules.
No, it was a joke. So
no, fair enough. I mean, I have the usual, issues of bendy water not being something I've seen or plan to ever see in my life. Gravity to me, just like I've mentioned before, is not mathematical and non-physical. And so that's the angle, my very, very minor drop in the bucket contribution. And so I'm sure Professor Games and people out there know my stance. I can repeat it here if people want, but I don't understand how two forces of gravity, two vectors that we would use to model what gravity is doing, occupying the same space, cannot interact. That is something that is not physical. And that is the main sort of intellectual qualm that I have. And then I posted an experiment recently that would be what I would need, or something very, very similar to that, because I didn't put anything on there that is like outside of our technological realm, or so like hand wavy that no one could ever do it and needs all of NASA's resources. If someone shows me a level moving across a flat surface after a certain amount of distance, then I will bow to the god of gravity.
So many things to dissect about that sentence in so little time. Again, I claim as no form of authority on anything I say, but these are just based on what I was able to do on my own research, and I will not be referencing anything of NASA, because that is, in my opinion, you are just complaining too much about the advances when you seem to might have a misunderstanding of the basics, just to be nice about it. Now, as far as your issue with bendy water, you really need to define that a lot better, because, you know, I've seen that used against you to hell and back. Yes, water will conform to the shape of its container.
Mm-hmm.
You put it into a cup, looks flat. But what happens when you start putting it into, say, a water balloon? That water balloon will expand and technically bend. Or say you just have running water, and this was a demonstration shown on Fight the Flat Earth channel, where it will conform to, say, the bending when it's introduced to, say, sound.
Mm-hmm.
I think what you seem to have, what might be confusing you, mind of God, is that gravity is a force of attraction. It doesn't cause any form of what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't cause things to just get crushed. It doesn't cause any form of compressing, if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah, I agree. We see that it doesn't, so that's why I don't think it exists. That's my whole point.
Just because it's not compressing anything doesn't mean there's any form of force. For instance, I could easily, say, hold an insect or something in place without crushing it, but I can still apply a continuous force.
Okay, check
Think
this
of
out.
gravity along that lines, only it's acting on the entire body and not just one single point, i.e. the water, and that means, since it's attracting everything towards its center of mass, which for all essential purposes is the center of our planet Earth, it will conform to the outer curve of our planet.
Here's the deal. Are we basically, this is what I can, like, this is me just synthesizing all of this stuff. Is there like a massive integral being computed at the center of the Earth with all things out there, and it just works? And I'm not trying to straw man you, but am I headed in the right direction by saying that?
You're saying, are you implying that it's particularly tuned to work this way?
No. I'm not trying to make this sound bad. I'm just saying the whole gravity field, which I think what you're saying is that it's acting in concert, right? Like, it's not like you can't kind of take one isolated thing that I'm doing, correct? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but is that the claim, that essentially there is a huge computation happening with the Earth and all the things on it? And
computation?
Yeah, to create this field, this gravitational.
Are you sure you're using that word correctly? I mean, I'm just trying to make sure, I'm just trying to check your context here.
I get it. Sorry, I'll take a step back. My objective is to create a field that characterizes all the forces that are acting in the world, basically. I mean, to keep these items on this ball. So that's what I meant. Sorry. And yeah, Jared's saying a tensor field. So I'm trying to understand the sequence of steps needed to create all those vectors, all the infinite number of them. And correct me if I'm wrong, is it basically kind of a one massive integral that's being computed, and it requires all the items to be there in order to compute it? Like, you cannot do it in isolation.
Are we talking about the Newtonian form of how gravity is described, or the Einsteinian?
You tell me. This is stuff, dude. I have no idea. Whatever you want to use, I don't care.
I'm more familiar with Newtonian gravity, which has been shown to be a scientific law. If that is really more of your, if you feel more comfortable, than rather the Einsteinian theory of gravity. You know, just to keep things a little more simplified and to keep things on our planet, even if we do disagree on its shape.
Okay, but all I want is objects and the forces acting on them. You know, that maybe if not at the individual level or on the group level, do you see what me and a lot of people need to understand things?
Do you want to start with definitions of how gravity works on different things such as weight, buoyancy, density? Do you want to start there?
Well, we can if you want to go there. I guess what I'm getting at with my point about the gravity vectors is we can't. I know that there's a general move away from that, and I'm trying to push you guys towards it, because that's why I know that gravity doesn't exist. And I think if you look at it carefully, you'll see that it doesn't. Like, try and draw a free body diagram explaining the surface tension on water. Like, how does water maintain that curve? You cannot draw a free body diagram on that area, because it would be going in all different directions, and plus we're spinning as well.
Are you saying water can't curve at all?
No, I'm saying if you were to sit and draw a free body diagram at the surface showing how the water tension, surface tension is maintained, that would be impossible. I dare you to.
So you're just, wait, we're talking about water surface tension?
Or just the water curving, because you would agree it's maintaining that shape, right? Which requires some amount.
Yeah, it would. Again, it's like, okay, think about it this way. Like, okay, I'm just trying to piece this together to make sure I'm still maintaining cohesion. But so your issue is how water is able to curve. Are you like confused on the direction gravity is going? Because down is actually quite subjective when it comes to our planet. I mean,
I'm trying to characterize why. Like, what are the things that are allowing these forces, these natural things that we would observe, or you're proposing we observe with curvy water? What are the forces that are there? And I need to be able to put them there, like see them, like write them.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm not 100% sure about this, because I'm not that fluid with. Pardon my pun, but I'm not that fluent in that forms of physics. I do know that it's just mass attracts mass, and you know, for all intents and purposes, it does pull to the center. And you know, forgive my rambling, but I'm just like,
dude, don't feel bad.
Even if I feel like there are plenty more like people who are very knowledgeable in the Newtonian definitions of gravity that could explain this, or possibly Einsteinian, but
no, they can't.
But all I can say is that, from basic understanding, water will conform to the shape of its container from gravitational pull. And just try to put this in try to get this into like the larger scale, like the circumference of the globe that we're proposing. Now, I don't know, I probably should have written down this, but like, again, when you factor in just the general scale and the pull of gravity and the just mass of all that water. Because again, 70% of our planet is actually covered in water, but I believe it doesn't make up that much of the planet's mass. Like all that water on the outside, it will conform to the surface of the planet when it's being pulled toward the center. I'm sorry if I'm not answering this very well, but I got quite lost with a lot of things you were asking about because, again, I'm not a physicist.
Oh, that's fine.
Like the professor is just like a name I wanted to do.
That's fine. I'm not trying to be confrontational. I'm just telling you, like, that's the theory. I understand that. That's the concept or whatever from a high level. I'm just telling you, and everybody knows this now, we're getting into the weeds now. We're not sitting around looking at images all the time now. There's going to be more and more people who are going to come in here and ask for what any person with common sense would ask if a force exists. We want to see it. We want to see it mathematically. That's it.
Well, since you're okay, but now, pardon me if I sound condescending or anything, but given that you have been so attached to orthogonal gravity, I mean, you've used it many times, have you performed any at all forms of experimentation with this orthogonal gravity, or how you think gravity works, to see if it actually has any merit? Do you have any do you have like videos? Do you have data? There is a step-by-step process to this entire endeavor, and if you have done so, and it is what you're saying, it is, your Nobel Prize will be awaiting you. I'm just trying to make sure everything is on the up and up, because there are rules to this.
Dude, if anybody does my experiment that's on my channel now with the drones and the flat pieces of wood, something like that, and shows that gravity exists, they will get the Nobel Prize for reaffirming a very, very mysterious force.
I'm going to ask you this question
it doesn't exist
again.
It does not.
Did you...
Check this out, Professor Game. Do you really think that a level traversing a flat axis, a plane, will start moving at some point? Like, do you really believe that? Like, honestly,
do you even know how those levels work? Like, what force causes that bubble to move?
Here's the point. If there is a force, it will show up. If there is no force, it's going to stay flat, level for miles and miles and miles until we hit the ice wall.
I'm asked ISO. So that means you subscribe to the azimuthal equidistant projection model that the flat Earth movement advocates.
Yeah, we're going to hit the wall or the something.
And that's where I'm afraid this is going to get interesting, because I've seen many problems with the azimuthal equidistant projection that I would like to confront with you right now, starting with the simplest and rather my favorite quote-unquote flaw. You have the issue of you just don't accept the answer of gravity being the reason that that airplanes don't need to constantly adjust their nose to point downwards to conform to the curvature of the Earth. By that same form of questioning, I would like to ask you, what particular force is keeping us from having to constantly feel an aircraft banking left or right when making an east or west flight? And this bank will become more and more pronounced the further north you are. That is a very important question. What force there is acting on the airplane that allows it to conform to the east and west circulation that it will have to perform the further north you are on this azimuthal equidistant model?
Dude, what are you talking about? Like, I don't even want you to repeat what you just said. Like, talk about something else. Like, I don't know what you just said.
Hang on. If I may say, I tried to give you my best. I gave my best description of how gravity works. Dude, as I could. I give much detail. Hang on. And I am asking you for a specific force, because you know the AE map, and you know that the further northern continents are like, you're going to have to make very tight banks from east to west.
Dude, what?
To continue that. And
here's the deal. You can't characterize it mathematically. That's fine. Let's move on from that. Now, what I'm
I
telling
never said anything about mathematics here.
exactly.
I'm asking a simple question.
Yeah, but here's the deal. Here's the only thing as of right now that I'll accept someone to show me that gravity's real. A level going across a flat surface, eventually it'll have to start shaking. And if someone shows me that, that's gravity. That's it. That's the only thing. I'm not anything.
Honestly,
that's it. That's because that's what we've that's what we've agreed.
I'm
that's
sorry.
Observable. Obviously implementation issues, but something along those lines.
Do you even know, like, outside of your orthogonal hypothesis, have you even looked into the basic functions of gravity?
Yeah.
That means a bare basic middle school definitions, because I took a middle school physics class a while back ago, and I mean, the way they describe some functions of gravity were rather, admittedly for me, could be at times confusing, but were understandable the more I tried to look into it, and like I've also looked into many flat Earth claims and compared many things. I'm just saying there seems to be contradictions on what in reality best comports to these observations by both sides of this argument.
Here, the distance between the ball Earth and the flat Earth, whatever all those things are that the ball Earth is introducing, gravity would need to compensate for that. So yeah, that's what
How would gravity need to compensate for distances between continents between our two models?
No, I'm telling you that you asked me what would gravity need to do, and I'm telling you that's what it would need to do because I believe.
I never asked it. Hang on, let's just bring this back, because I still have yet to hear an answer. If you just don't know what force is not allowing this constant bank, just say you don't know. I will gladly say what I don't know about the globe model.
I don't even know what you're talking about, so I'll give you that point, whatever you said.
Hang on. I'm going to see if do you have an azimuthal equidistant projection on you, like a map? I could pull up the AE map.
I don't understand what the point of that is.
To show you what I'm talking about with what's going on.
I can't.
Come on, dude, seriously, I'm talking about the AE map. I mean, it's just like the North Pole is at the center, the South Pole is the ice wall. That's what I'm talking about here. The further north you are, come on, dude, this is your map I'm talking about here. Dude, I'm sorry if I'm getting a little heated, but I'm a little confused on what it is I'm not being clear about.
Dude, I'm not trying to be rude to you, but do you know how advanced this is? Not because of me, but do you know how far along Flat Earth is, or how new, or how many channels have you subscribed to on Flat Earth, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't subscribe to Flat Earth channels. I analyze what they say, and honestly, from what I've seen from many channels, there are a lot of thoughts that are very, shall I say, inconsistent.
I'm not saying
I'll see one flat earther say one thing, then another flat earther will see another thing. I've seen very much even contradictions about what would be the preferable model. I mean, right now it's the azimuthal equidistant, but I've seen many other models propose to say this is the true shape of our planet.
Okay, and I've heard from you guys, just to kind of jab back. One camp says the spin affects the g vectors, and another camp says they don't. So there's the
the g vectors describe more fully.
The field.
I'm not familiar with that one. I'm just going with more basics, nothing too complicated. I'm just going off of basic observations and just rather more simplistic forms of science.
Well, okay, so do you agree with at least what I'm saying theoretically, that if a level were to move across a flat plane in the ball Earth, in the gravitational field, something would need to happen if it's, again, this is idealized, but just think of it. something would need to happen as it keeps going, right? Because the level will only stay level in your world on Earth curve, correct? So
I need to look into that to just figure out exactly what you are referring to. Just, if I see anything by, I can give you a more detailed thing. Again, this is just.
Well, to help with that idea, is there a way you can simply explain what you are proposing, Mind of God? So
yeah. So Jared, here's the deal. Like the theory is that a level, again, this is like, we can't do this on the scale of the Earth, so I'm not pretending like this will be able to happen anytime soon. But the theory, at least with gravity, is that a level is only level if it's perpendicular to the direction of gravity. And so as it traverses Earth curve, a level is level. That's, again, we're talking about big circle, ellipse here or whatever. But so if I were to create a surface that's different than that, a level would need to do something different. So I'm proposing create a flat surface. Again, my way is not the best way. There's a lot of implementation details that have been brought up to me many times, and all good feedback. The wind, for example, is an issue. How to, keep something level supported in the air without having it move around enough for the level to be able to settle. And
You really think they didn't consider that when building helicopters?
Well, no, it's that there is something other than that. So I think we understand what you are asking for.
There you go.
And there is one word that could easily address this. Now, my question
I already
is,
know what you're going to say. I already know what you're going to say.
Really? What one word?
Scale.
Pardon?
The word is scale. That's what you bring up.
No.
Okay, keep going.
No. Would you be surprised that something similar to this has already been done? And the answer to that question is the one word.
And it's
LIGO.
No, okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. If it's already been done, I'm stating the way I want it to be done. I want to see it up in the air. I want to see it recorded. I want to see when it starts moving around, and then dude, I'll leave the debate. I'm out. Hats off to you guys. Boom. You've proven gravity. You've isolated it, man.
Okay. Mind of God, I'm going to be emailing you an image I found of the azimuthal equidistant projection. Just take a look at that and look at the northernmost continents, like the United States, the North America, the most northern parts of Asia, Europe.
But wait, sorry.
And you'll know what I'm talking about.
Jared, do you mind giving me a bit more background on what you were talking about? Sorry to cut you off, but what is that thing? Like,
you were asking for something that does not follow the shape of the Earth.
Yeah.
That way you could actually take a spirit level along it and see the deflection.
Okay, yeah, that's what I want.
Take a look at how the LIGO detectors were actually manufactured and the way they had to be constructed.
All right, cool. All right, sorry, PG. You're gonna send me something, man?
I just emailed you an image I pulled up from Google on the azimuthal equidistant projection, just to show you again what I was talking about with my flights point.
Dude, can I ask a personal question, man? Like, would you have a meltdown if it ends up being flat? Like, what does it matter to you personally, or do you care?
It really doesn't give. I really don't give too much about it. It's just like I want to. Again, I'm a science advocate. I want to know all I can. If I'm wrong on something, I will admit that I am wrong on something. It's just that with something that, just from my stance, for something this extraordinary of a claim, I'm going to need some extraordinary evidence.
Thank you. We are too. Thank you. Yes, agreed. And do that. Stick to your guns. We are too. I am only sticking to things that's rigorous, what I feel comfortable with. And if someone shows me a level moving around after traversing a flat surface, after whatever, I will shut up.
And you're positive that none of this might just be even the slightest minor misunderstanding on your part on the research?
No, I've
because I'll double check with other people on both sides if I.
No, you guys agree. It has to do a level can't stay level on two surfaces. It's either Earth curve or that's it. So it can't, if I make another surface like a flat surface and it does some weird things that we would not predict as a flat Earth believer, that's gravity. All credit. All honor and glory to gravity. Then that's what.
As opposed to just the basic mass, attract mass, and everything that pretty much many forms of devices and engineering that we've had to done. Even gravitational pull is factored in terms of like math and continued weight in many buildings we've made, and lots of different forms of machinery.
You know this, dude. The Bible is on the table for me personally. People are gonna lose their lunch if this ends up being a ball. So I need to make sure.
Majority of the population have perfectly been fine with it being a ball, dating all the way back to what would it be?
The Masons.
Jared, like since the 1700s, 1600s. Don't quote me on that. I'm just pulling. I'll fully admit I'm just like pulling a century from thin air, just from what I can remember.
Dude, I'm just I give you as a friend, dude. Look into this, man. This is not.
Oh, I've been looking into this for a few years, and honestly, I will give you your credit where it's due. You are one of the more pleasant and, dare I say, I mean, fight the fire if you disagree with me, but you are definitely one of the more tolerable of your movement, as opposed to the especially composed of some that are just resulted to mindless savagery like Scotty Storm. That man is.
No, dude, it's not personal. I have no issues with you guys. I honestly, genuinely enjoy the discussion. I'm not the smartest person in the world. I know that, and I know you guys are all smart. It's obvious, but there are deep implications here. And again, if you have done whatever experiments that you've done, or you maybe want my feedback on, or our community as a Flat Earth community feedback on, confirm whatever is good for you, do that. I've put mine out there, and something along those lines is what I need. That's it. And so, again, only because the Bible is involved. If it was just doesn't really matter, if it was just the shape, it doesn't affect my day to day. But now that I've realized in the last maybe 6 months or a year that the Bible has an opinion on this, I'm all in. All my chips are on the table, and so it is.
You are. Well, the fact that you are fully willing to admit that the Bible may be wrong already puts you kilometers ahead of Kent Hovind and Ken Ham.
PG, you show me a level moving on a flat surface, I will burn the thing on a live stream, and we'll have like a drink.
I think, and again, I feel like you're being a little confused on the functions of gravity. I just know the simplistic mass attracts mass. I don't know every iota. Have you talked with any? I'm sure if you could talk with a physicist, they could.
You guys I trust you guys, man. You guys are not dumb. Like what? You guys are the guys. So now you got Craig drinking. We're turning him into an alcoholic. So like, just be careful with that stuff. I know if I say he's gonna start hitting the bottle heavy. So.
He's a Navy man. He's already had the training. He's fine.
Yeah. I mean, haven't you? I mean, yeah. Navies. These guys got stomachs of chrome steel.
Yeah, okay, so there was one time we'd run out of alcohol on board, and I distilled the photocopier fluid and added orange juice to it for the crew. So
I was about to say, did you pull an allegedly Dave?
Guys, here's an open question. Like, I believe it's flat. We're not spinning. Let's. How do you now tell me that we're spinning? Like, how do you introduce people to this idea, which now I know is not the case? But like, where do you even start with that?
Where do I start with like the Earth's rotation?
Yeah, like how do you?
Just to give the most. This is the experiment I'm most familiar with, and that's just like the general geometry of how the Earth's sky moves in the northern and southern hemisphere. You have again, anyone feel free to correct me on which one's clockwise and which one's counterclockwise. But when you're in the northern hemisphere, our northern star is Polaris. That's our point. That's our kind of like point of reference for a spin. And looking in the northern direction, looking at the sky, it'll spin counterclockwise. Looking to the southern pole and its southern celestial star, Octanus. I forget the name offhand, but. Alcanus Centauri, I want to say. I could be. I don't quote me on that. I forget the name. You'll see the sky move in a clockwise position, and if the Earth was perfectly flat with this ice wall, as you say, with this AE projection, that would not in any ways be the observation we would see. In fact, if we did see that, we would have, I would be on your side.
Yeah, dude, come to the light, bro. Come over here.
Don't try that. Don't pull the Star Wars on me, or this will get really, really ugly.
No, whatever you need to do, and that's maybe in the future. I would say come up with stuff that I've done that will verify gravity and various things, all these nonlinear things that people.
All right, let me just finish what I'm saying here. Again with what I'm saying. If we would not see this observation on the azimuthal equidistant projection. I want to know why this seems to conform more with us on the surface of a spheroid and not on a flat disk. Like, what are some of the observations and hypotheses that have been brought up in the flat Earth movement to explain these star trails?
Dude, I don't know. Ask a star. I don't look at the stars, man. I don't. Yeah, if that's one thing that you're going to use to be a baller, go find a star expert. Like, that's for me. I look at the very root, I get right to the crux of the matter, and that's gravity. If stars are good for you, I would be careful.
Just to I'll come back to gravity, but now this whole ice wall thing. Yeah. Tell me what you can know about what you know about what you believe is going on in Antarctica when the Antarctica Treaty, just so I can give you any forms of rebuttals or my knowledge on the subjects.
Yeah, God basically is doing this deception. So he has a coordinated system worldwide, and I'm not accusing anybody of being malicious necessarily, but it has to be big. There is a worldwide conspiracy that God is orchestrating that is withholding the shape of the earth. But now it's being revealed, and God is waking up his children. So yeah, he does have treaties. God has,
and yet he's the one who caused this deception in the first. For God's sake!
Our Creator, the Heavenly Father, made the earth, and He made the deception.
Oh, and we were doing so, we were doing so well. Let's just start with this whole thing with Antarctica. There have been documented explorations to Antarctica. I could pull them up to you right now and link you some articles. I can also link you exact word for word of the Antarctica Treaty, which states that that cannot be owned by any particular country's government, and no particular government military can occupy it. The only form of personnel that can be on there are scientists from any country, and maybe military personnel for protection reasons.
Dude, not to be short with you, but do you really understand what's at stake here? Like, I'm telling you, people who have spent their lifetime, generations, standing on a book that is now puffing its chest saying that the earth is flat or whatever, dome, etc.
Just like how it was puffing its chest that the entire planet was covered in more water than is physically on our planet.
The thing is, do you think a couple documents here and there, do you think we are that gullible at this point, knowing the deception that's obvious on both sides now in the world?
Both sides, because from what I've seen, the globe model has been able to do far more in terms of productivity, especially when it comes to aviation and nautical travel.
That's not what I meant. I meant both sides would agree there's some deception in the world. So we're already, there's a heightened skepticism in the world. I
will agree that people are starting to learn to ask some more. Generally, I think people are wanting to and are starting to slowly learn about everything, about how to be skeptical with things people are saying. I mean, I think not to name any names, and I mean not any names here, chat, that many politicians on both sides, at least here in America, on both sides of our political parties, have been guilty of some forms or another of dishonesty. Yes. Just to give an example. And I will never say that there haven't been honest, there's never been dishonest scientists. There have been plenty of dishonest scientists. Now, I want to just bring this back to, I just want you to give, you've admitted that you don't know about the star trace, but I'm going to bring this back to my original question about the azimuthal equidistant projection model that you subscribe to about northern hemisphere's travels.
I subscribe to the fact that gravity doesn't exist. And so
that's not the point. That's not what I was saying, dude. My original question was what force is keeping the airplanes from constantly having to bank in the northern straight north, east and west direction in flying.
What are you talking about? Are you speaking from experience, or what do you?
I've emailed you the model, dude. Look at it for God.
I'm looking at the picture. I get it.
Okay, you see the azimuthal equidistant projection. You see North America, Europe, basically many of the northern hemisphere land masses. The further up north, closer you get to the Arctic, the more the airplane will have to bank when it's going east to west due to the circular nature of its east to west motions on your model.
Dude, the thing's
do not non sequitur this with you don't believe in gravity. Answer me, what force?
What do you mean? The plane goes up, flies, and lands. It's not going in rings, or I don't know what you're talking about.
Exactly my point. This makes far more sense on the globular model when you look at how it works. Again, if you look at it, do not say you just don't believe in gravity, because reality doesn't give a single flying crap what you believe in. The fact that the plane is traveling at a constant cruising altitude, and no matter where you are on the surface of the globe, or how high off the surface you are until you reach more of an Earth orbit, but you will, if you're moving at an east or west direction, you will continue to move east or west without any form of compensation, not like it is on the azimuthal equidistant projection, which is a completely flat surface. If you're on the surface of a globe, it doesn't matter how close you are to the top or the bottom. I'm just generalizing here. The force of gravity will keep the plane from having to constantly bank its nose downward. It'll just conform as long as it's at a constant speed and a cruising altitude. And sorry, I'm just going as fast as I can to explain this, but
turn what you're saying, which is a lot of words, into a systematic, reproducible either observation and proof. I told you mine. I can't do it yet, but I definitely can.
And yet you're still pronouncing this as the one true truth. That's not how science works. You have yet to put your orthogonal gravity or anything else you've put into proper testing and scrutiny.
Summarize what you just said, either now or in the future, to me in a systematic. Look at this, then look at. Don't just say read this document and then further indoctrinate yourself. We're not going to buy that. You just made a mistake of dropping the indoctrination bomb here, buddy. Yeah, we've been heavily indoctrinated, some more than
others. This is gonna get ugly. Okay.
Wait, why?
Let's just say that it already is.
Let's just put this together. I have looked into actual indoctrinations, and they refuse any forms of questioning. At all. As soon, I can just think of one thing. I can see it right now in a Christian classroom. It's the second maybe a young man tries to ask what form of propulsion or directional control Noah's Ark had, he's just going to be shut down with anything but a proper answer. But say you have a young man in the classroom just asking some questions about okay, I'm trying to think of something they would ask, pardon the whole thing, but they would start asking why does this animal lay eggs? What?
This is madness, dude. We are at the stage now where we are only going to, and I'm speaking probably for a lot of people, we're only going to take repeatable, linear, observable proofs. That's it. Like
I didn't want to have to
Hang
drop
on,
this bomb
hang on.
on you.
are absolutely
Hang on. Hold that thought, Professor. Mind of God, word of advice, only speak for yourself. Don't try to inject your own misgivings on an entire population of other people.
True, but Jared, you don't know I have tons of followers. I think I have like no, I'm kidding.
An echo chamber doesn't count.
I'm just messing with you. Okay,
Only speak from your position.
Fair enough.
Don't assert your position on anyone else.
Fair enough.
Oh, and mind of God, I didn't want to drop this bomb on you, but you are pretty much leaving me no choice. Two words: Cavendish experiment.
Oh,
read it, love it, and quit with this, and just learn that your orthogonal hypothesis is bollocks.
wow. All right, that's cool. I'll give you that, man. If that's good enough for you, that's good enough for you. It's nowhere near good enough for me.
It's not just good. It's not just good enough for me, who's like an absolute nobody from the internet who just wanted to debate you. It is going to be. I'm talking about just like it can be redone and repeatable, and contrary to not you, but what many flat earthers say, just because it's difficult doesn't automatically mean impossible. Word of advice.
Dude, hey, if that experiment, you can bring it to us and show that it repeatably shows some force that can be isolated, like my experiment does.
You can probably find any number of demonstrations of the Cavendish experiment being repeated. Now, I will fully admit I don't know all of the minute details.
Dude, get out of that ball earth atheist madness, man. It's over, dude.
Hey, I went into this wanting to be nice to you. Don't ruin it, Buster.
I'm giving you advice.
Hey, dude, I'm just going to say it right now. My mother was Catholic, and she got out of that. And she described that she did not agree to many of it. So if she thought that atheism was better than Catholic, who am I to not trust my mother, who is, by the way, a CPA?
Okay, well, I'll give her credit.
If CPA credentials are good enough for you, they're good. They're more than good enough for her.
I mean, just if the Cavendish is good for you and you feel good with that, or you reproduce it.
Hold on, stop. You immediately say if you want you will believe repeatable, reliable results on what is acceptable in the scientific consensus. Cavendish experiment has been repeated and has been shown to be reliable. Yeah, there has to be a little bit of fussing with it, but it's just to ensure that there's only one variable. That's how a scientific experiment works. You work to it to where you only have one variable, and that's the variable you want to observe and measure.
Dude, atheism has beat us over the head for our life.
This is not Science can also be performed if you're religious. There were many scientists who were religious, like Wernher von Braun. He was very much religious, but yet he was the father of the American rocket program. He contributed to getting us to the moon.
Okay.
So yeah, science isn't automatically atheism. You can be Buddhist and be a scientist. You can be Catholic and be a scientist. You can be Jewish and be a scientist. You can be Muslim and be a scientist. I don't think I need to prove that. I don't think I need to beat this point anymore.
No, you don't. That's fine. We get that. But don't just like regurgitate other experiment. I put mine out there. If someone can help me.
Hold up. You asked for repeatable experimentation. Why are you ignoring the example that he gave when you specifically asked for repeatable experimentation?
If it can isolate G, which it doesn't.
Yes,
sure.
It does.
Oh, Jared, dude, you know who you're talking to.
Yeah, someone who claims to have an EE but doesn't understand how Cavendish isolates for G.
The whole title is mass attracting mass. Where is the isolation if it's mass that is the thing that is causing the attraction? Where's the G doing this?
It's not my place to show you.
Fair enough. That's fine. So that's, again, if that's good for you, go for it. I'm telling you that's not good for me. I've laid mine out there.
Well, then you're just projecting your own forms of biases because you're only going to accept what you think is acceptable instead of what is actually. Because when I look at these things, I don't care what my presupposition is. I'm going to look at what the data says and what its conclusion will read after rigorous peer reviews for falsifiability to be falsified. This is how science works. You prove everything you can to make it wrong, and if it still survives that, then hey, howdy, hey, that's just the way it works. Even if you do prove one thing wrong, so anything that's going to replace it is going to be pretty darn near close.
All I'm saying is, if you're going to keep having these discussions, and I genuinely enjoy you asking me to talk, but they're going to get more specific. It's fair warning. It's obvious. It's just the way it's going to be.
You want to get into specifics? Okay. No, hang on.
Go for it.
Since you continuously dodge my question about the northern flights on an Azimuthal
Send me a map. No, if it's, I don't care if that's what accurate. How it's a picture, whatever.
Mind of God, do you want to actually have a conversation or not?
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Professor, or whoever.
Okay, let me just try to get myself under control. Okay. I heard a beep. Am I still coming off okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Now let me just get on to my next point, since you don't want to answer my question about the AE's Northern Hemisphere flights. What about...
Address that. I don't... Yeah, sure. I'll give you that one. That point. Fine. I don't know what you're talking about, but...
Oh, for God's... Oh, please don't fire me up again.
No, I just said I'll give you the point. Whatever you made. It's
all right. Let me move on to the unavoidable fact of the changing angular distance of the sun on the azimuthal equidistant projection. Since it is said that the sun is only 3,000 feet up, and that's more of the consensus that I've heard throughout. I don't know what. Do you have a distance? Because I will change it from 3,000 if you have a proper distance.
Dude, of course, I know for sure, it's not 93 million miles away. For sure. I'm
not asking, oh, I don't believe in this distance. I'm asking for your distance.
I'll tell you for sure it's not 93 million miles away.
Give me a number.
I have no idea. I mean, it would be a guess.
Then I'm going to use 3,000 because that's the only one. That's the only like average that I've heard.
Whatever the clouds are times 10 at the most, somewhere around there.
And yet we have flights and jets that are able to fly above the clouds. So supposedly, if somebody's flying in broad daylight, they're going to be hit by that really hot ball of what I'm assuming you're calling fire.
But yeah.
So how do you explain that despite it flying over the disk of the world, even though you still don't explain how it stays up there?
Dude, how does it stay suspended in free space? We both have issues, man. Come on. That's insane.
Hang on, let me interject with one very simple question here. Mind of God, how many questions are you not going to answer tonight?
Well, okay, now let him rapid fire them out.
No, you just added another one to the list. How many questions do you intend to not answer at all tonight?
I can't answer things that I don't know. So, I mean, I did my best with the sun thing. I mean, I don't know, like, I have no issues with this discussion. I'm not sure why he isolated me to talk to.
The issue is becoming an apparent lack of willingness on your part to actually address what is being posed to you.
Yeah, because the stuff that's coming up are the things that are nonlinear, difficult to repeat, or hearsay.
Difficult, not impossible.
Sure, give me something linear, repeatable, and observable, and then we'll talk, man. Like,
okay. Let me try to rephrase one for you then.
Not the Cavendish, dude.
No. This actually goes back to one of the multiple questions that you have refused to answer to this point, because apparently you don't understand what a circle is. If the world is indeed a flat plane as posited by Flat Earth,
Yes.
why do planes that maintains an east-west flight path, why are they not constantly in a turn?
Oh man, Jared, that's
Answer the question.
well, I can't answer that because I am not a pilot. So if that's a evidence for you guys,
I'm not a pilot either, but I do actually have a degree in aeronautical engineering, and the fundamentals of flight are actually very easy to think about. And here's the thing, you can even do this with any other mode of travel that is not directly tied to the ground. So it can be an aircraft, it can be a helicopter, it can be a fucking bullet. Why does it not turn to maintain an east-west orientation as it travels?
I have no idea. I don't think that it would travel that way. It just goes up, flies, and lands. I don't know why there's no spinning, there's no atmosphere moving. I don't understand why you think it would be moving in a ring fashion or in any kind of, the atmosphere is not.
Can I butt in here? The reason why the plane's moving in a ring fashion is because that is the flight paths that they are given. When you look at flight paths and you put them on a flat map like the AE map, okay, they are circular. They go round the ring. Because then when you put that onto a globe, it's a straight line. So that is why the question of what force is making the airplane bank when it has to do this constant turning on a flat map is in play. Please at least entertain answering the actual question. Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
The only reference that I have about flying and stuff is I do have two friends who are, one's amateur and one's in the defense, and I asked them about flat Earth and they didn't know. Like they never formed an opinion. So that's all I have in terms of pilots. So if you've interviewed somebody or whatever, and they claim that that's the way planes move, I will listen to it. But it's a little bit shocking to me that two people that I've known for many, many years, it's the first time they ever heard somebody even mention flat Earth, and then they didn't have a response right away or at all.
You said they're both in aviation?
One of them is an amateur pilot, and the other, we both went to undergrad together at Western, and one of them is in the defense. I don't want to give up. Yeah, he's with Jamaican defense. In Jamaican.
But you have one friend in aviation, and he was shocked to hear about this flat Earth thing.
You don't think that if they're flying, they would know that it's a spinning ball? You don't think that they would be like, oh yeah, of course, we do this, we do that, we do adjust for this?
Maybe it's because all of their training, all of their instruments, and generally how they try to do their job to make sure they just don't go off course or even crash into the supposed ice wall, teaches them that the Earth is a globe, and oddly enough, it works.
You don't think that would be something that would come up on the first day of like flight school? Like
no, it would absolutely not, because any attempt to use maybe your model, like say I live here in New York, and I say I want to go to Europe. If by using your model and just flying a straight line, I'm gonna end up in Morocco.
Dude, we're not necessarily even just talking about the actual journey, but just the Earth, the movement, the compensation or lack of compensation.
Sorry, I've got a button again because you completely avoided the question, okay? I don't care if you don't know the answer. I want you to entertain the question and try and come up with an explanation. You apparently have a master's degree in electrical engineering. So for 1 second, use your brain and think, why would the planes have to bank? Just answer that one question. Don't change the subject of my friends this, people I know this. Why do you think that the planes would have to bank? Okay?
Dude,
just give your answer.
You're assuming that they're doing that. I have no idea. Like
no, I'm not assuming that. I am saying that on a flat map, they would have to, because of the routes that they take. Because you can go onto any website, any airline's website, and look at the flight paths, okay? Now, when you put those flight paths, especially the long ones, onto a flat map, it shows them going round in a ring. It shows them having to curve all the time. So on a flat map, the pilot would constantly having to bank, right?
Dude, the curvature is just. I'm assuming the fact that it's not point to point is just whatever the is happening in the air. You know, they're optimizing based on wind. However it's moving, they're obviously going to take advantage of it or adjust. You know, it's like that.
Do you know how aircraft instruments work? Because I actually did a hell of a lot of research on this.
Well, I don't. So you're the man. Go for it. What do you got?
Right, sorry to butt in for a second, guys, but I've been like face palming myself here. Right, we'll talk for a second about a simple gyroscope in a plane and the pendulous vanes, the pendulous vanes on it, and why they operate. The pendulous vanes are there to keep the gyroscope in an orientation so that the plane can detect its level. And the way it does this is by having two bits suspended above the gyroscope that open and close valves based on whether liquid is moving within the gyroscope housing. And the only way it can do this is if there is the downward force on the bits that are hanging above the pendulous vanes, allowing the ports to open and close. And that downward force has an acceleration of 9.8 meters per second squared. We call it gravity. I don't give a fuck what you call it. But that is proof that a downward accelerating force of 9.8 meters per second squared is required for a plane to properly operate, okay? So gravity is a fact here, and it cannot be avoided unless you can give me another explanation for that downward accelerating force of 9.8 meters per second squared.
No, if gravity is real, then my experiment that I propose will fail. And
No. There is a downward accelerating. Listen, there is a downward accelerating force of 9.8 meters per second squared.
Flight provider, can I get back in here?
Yep, sorry, right. I'm gonna butt out now. But my point is, you are constantly just avoiding the questions. All right, please just try and actually answer the question instead of avoiding it. Okay.
Craig, I'll give you that. If gravity is real, no issues. I'm just saying I'm going to verify it for myself. Do you respect that, or do you think that that's dumb to do that?
Well, I respect that you would like to verify it for yourself, but unfortunately, your understanding of what gravity actually is so flawed that whatever experiment you try and do would not gain the proper data that you require to make an informed decision. Okay. I am going to now hand the debate back to Professor Games. Okay.
I know it would. I've confirmed it with ballers. Like a level cannot stay
level.
Have
you? Where are your calculations? Where are your experimentation? Where was your test site? Where is anything to say that you have actually done proper experimentation? Where are the peer review? Where is your peer review result? Where is your paper that has been peer reviewed with your test results?
No, I had to get the theory first, and it's understood. Obviously, the implementation would be a little tricky, but it's.
Do you even understand what a theory means in the scientific consensus?
Yeah, I would be adding to the scientific body, I guess, if I were to conduct this experiment. And it would overthrow a lot.
That was not the question you were just asked.
Sorry, repeat it.
Do you know what a theory is in the scientific consensus?
No, tell me.
Okay, a theory is you have scientific hypotheses, and you have scientific theories, and you have scientific laws. From everything that I have been taught, a law and a theory are basically on equal grounds. They have very much high supporting bodies of evidence for their functions and how they work.
Slightly there. The thing about a law is that it has a mathematical definition. For instance, the mathematical formula for gravity is a law because it's something that works. Whereas a theory is a well-substantiated body of evidence that has, passed rigorous scientific testing.
Thank you, Fight the Flat Earth.
To be even more nuanced, to bring it to your level, Mind of God.
Yes, sir.
The law is the what, the theory is the how.
Thanks, guys. Sorry about that.
No, a theory is just something that is put out there to kind of for discussion and further.
Oh, I'll remember that. I'll just remember the throwaway germ theory whenever the next time I get strep throat and decide to go to my nearest witch doctor instead of an actual trained physician.
Here's the way I would think of a theory. It's like it's out there. It probably explains it should explain something, but it's not exhaustive. So it's not a law yet.
It's not exhaustive. Again, I'll remember that the next time I'm sick, and I'll just go to the homeo quacks.
No, that's not what I'm recommending. That's not.
I'm just saying, like germ theory, theory of evolution, the Einsteinian theory of gravity. They are all the how, and and from what I understand, they have some pretty dang good mechanisms and explanations of the how. And again, I would advocate your testing your orthogonal hypothesis.
Yeah,
that's what it is, a hypothesis. And I hope that you are intellectually honest enough, because despite our disagreements, I do think you are in some ways a good person, that you will be intellectually honest enough to say that your experimentation was a failure and your hypothesis may have been flawed or downright wrong.
It's what I would want to see personally.
It's what you would want to see, not what the actual result of the experiment would be.
Well, if gravity's real, it'll show up here. Everyone's going to have their own flavor, but everybody's going to start getting specific. I'm assuming, and we
are getting specific, and we're still getting quite specific. Probably more specific than your average layperson or myself probably knows. That I will fully admit.
We don't trust Cavendish. We don't trust the government. We don't trust
Cavendish. We don't trust. Stop changing the subject. No rapid fire, and just stick to what I was trying to do. I will admit I've been getting a little impatient with you, but it's just because that some of the things you have been doing, such as moving the goalpost or just dodging a very direct question I was asking you, again, bringing back my AE Northern Flights question, it has been rather taxing, because I truly did not want this to get too out of hand and have a rather reasonable and good discussion.
We are having a good discussion, man. It's just, you have to understand the underpinning for a lot of things that I believe God is in the equation. I can't say I've shook God's hand, but he's in the equation. So
God is there. There's a problem. God is in the equation. With every great mind, even those who are theists have never had God in the equation.
Fine, but he's in.
I think it reminds me of this one, to quote Ian Malcolm from Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. God is not part of the equation.
Hey Jared, check Discord.
Check Discord. Which server?
Fight the Flat Earth. We can see your screen.
Yeah, I've sorted it.
I was talking to Jared. Continue on.
Okay, so I don't know. I mean, this was good, man. We can. I will try and do my experiment or something like it to have something more concrete, but I'm only accepting linear, repeatable, and visual from this point forward.
Well, speaking of your experiment in concrete, look at the concrete foundations of the LIGO sites.
Where is that in the world?
If I remember correctly, both are in the U.S. One is up in the Pacific Northwest. The other is down in Alabama or Mississippi, if I remember correctly.
Okay. No, I mean, I heard that term only in a hangout recently. But yeah, I'll look at it. But let's just say, even if that were the case, I would still want my experiment done, because it's for me. It's my way that it makes sense in my head, and it's fair, and it isolates gravity, which is what I'm.
Here's what I would recommend. Either, if you can't do the experimentation yourself, give the experiment to a well-known flat Earth believer and a well-known flat Earth debunker. Give them both the tests you want, give them the constants and the one variable you want to test, give them both and see how both of them handle the experiment, and have no form of presuppositionalism in who you think is going to perform the experiment properly. Only go to whose data, experimentation, execution, and conclusions follow your hypothesis, whether it would be correct or incorrect.
I just stated what, I'm getting stuff from the chat where people are like, I'm not open and this and that. I'm just stating my experiment. Something like that is where that's what I need. And it's not like next generation futuristic technology, like 500 years down the road. That's like, this is off the shelf kind of stuff. On that order can be done. And so if I have to wait for that, maybe I'll look dumb because it'll take me whatever. But I'm very confident that if you move a level across a flat surface until it's whatever, it's going to stay flat. That's a fact. That will not change until someone shows me that.
Again, you're going to have, maybe it's just like missing a few points. Maybe you're missing a few points. I won't say who's missing what with that. I was only here to bring up the points I wanted to address that seem to be rather big problems. And I will say this right now. I am sorry for the times I got rather aggressive. But
No, you're fine. I don't sense that at all. I might be a little bit irritated just because I had a really rough back nine today on the golf course. So it's not your fault. But here, I have a question for you. I have a general question. First, like, why did you reach out to me? And second, like, why do we like irritate you? Like, what's the big deal? Like, if there's if there's a group of us out here that believe in flat Earth, do you care? Like, do you think we're going to take over the world and start enslaving all Earthers, or like, what's the fear?
Let me just get this down straight. I wanted to reach out to you after like seeing some of what you are, of who you are, and how you produce your, how.
Even if this is, I won't say that this is just a face you put on and then you're just an absolute prick towards everyone else in the comments, but because I will not address that at all. I can only comment on my interactions with you, but I can say that I want to address with you because hang on, it might.
You're good. The audio is better than what it was.
Sorry, it's just.
Keep it how it is. That's great.
Sorry, it's just that my headset was. I think my headset died a bit. So
Okay.
But like I said, I wanted to get into you because
go back the way you were. That was better than your current microphone.
Oh, okay then. Let me just turn it off then.
There we are. Am I okay?
There you go. Yeah.
Much better.
So all right, so
Professor Games, it sounds different now.
yeah, it's because I don't have my headset in, so
Okay,
I can.
this is better. Thanks.
Well, I'll be damned. All right, but back to what I was trying to say. So this whole thing.
It's a miracle of God.
Pig, stop
Pig.
interrupting.
Oh, for God! Oh, please don't rile me up again, Pig. Or I'm having bacon tomorrow.
He'll eventually get all the credit. It may not be right now, but he will.
All right. Okay, so for God's sake, like I was saying, the reason I wanted to debate you, Minded Guys, because after your recent talks on the non-second with Red's Rhetoric, I saw a glimmer of, hey, this is actually a flat earther who is far more open and far more willing to admit when he is wrong, rather than just. Like, I mean, you still subscribe to the conspiracy, but you actually do give yourself wiggle room to possibly change your stance. Like, I applaud your stance with like admitting when the that, you know, if your hypothesis with certain with like the time you're giving the Bible, if that time or any sooner you're proven wrong,
I'm not giving it forever.
You will like abandon your original
100%.
Consensus with it. But again, I feel like with some of this like flat earth thing, so I thought, hey, I will give you a chance with this whole flat earth thing, because I thought, you know, this whole orthogonal thing I wanted to address a little bit more and maybe be able to discuss this more generally without anyone in the chat getting so incredibly angry. No offense, Fight the Flat Earth or Jared.
No, they're good. It's fine. We're all good here.
And yeah, admittedly, even then, I still got quite frustrated. But I'm not going to just jump to calling you any form of names, even if I did indirectly. I am very much sorry, but it's just that maybe you might be clinging on to conspiracies, and
I am, and God's behind them. You're right.
All right, guys. If we could start
we need
thinking about our just 5 minutes each for just a final thought, if that's all right.
Yeah, perfect.
Mog went first to start with. So, Professor Games, do you want to just give your final thoughts?
My final thoughts. So, I have very mixed feelings about how this debate went. Admittedly, yes, I did get rather frustrated, and I was showing signs of losing my temper a tad, but I think I held myself together generally. Could I have done a better job at this? Yes, definitely. Do I think I did terrible? No, I don't think so. Mind to God for majority of the part was rather a pleasant person to talk with, though at some points with his flat Earth and certain things, I very much questioning, but I hold the hope that once past all the biases and if he truly advocates this, he will see that maybe his stances are not as concrete as he may believe, but I leave that only for himself to convince himself. And to address Mindy God's question, it's not the flat Earth movement itself that I am worried about. It's the fact that that it's slowly getting more and more aggressive. You are free to believe whatever you want, but I have a problem when it starts to be so aggressively peddled towards people, especially like incredibly aggressively. Like they feel like they have no choice or they're going to get hurt.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's not good.
Okay, Mind of God, if you just want to give us your final thoughts on what's happened here
I
today.
guess here's the deal. So I say this, it's difficult to believe God created all of this. I get it. I struggle with that daily, that there's some boogeyman out there outside of this thing that we live on. And he architected all this and he's pulling strings. I get that. That just sounds crazy. But I'm telling you, if someone were to make this surface, whatever it is, ends up being finalized, that is a brilliant entity, and very worthy of respect, even though he is difficult to understand and not approachable. But he's taking a step towards us, I feel, with flat Earth and other things. So I appreciate the dialogue. It probably was too hand wavy, but I think not with me necessarily, but with the energy that's on both sides, things are going to get very, very in the weeds, and both sides have to brace for it. And so it's going to be an interesting year. So I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Jared, you got any thoughts on what's happened?
I just have one request for everyone. It's more, I guess you could call it a homework assignment for everyone to consider doing. Look up the psychology definition of delusion and then ask yourself one question. Why is religion exempt?
Okay, fair enough. Well, I've really enjoyed being a host and interacting with you guys in the chat today. I'm just going to run through super chats before we go. DKG Custom asks, Mind of God, is it a linear repeatable God that you believe in?
No, he seems chaotic, and I give you guys that. So it's very, just the fact that a God exists and there's a spirit in us that translates, that's not anything I can wrap my head around. So my channel is named that not because I understand the mind of God. I feel that's our home where we return. So
okay. Just
to clarify, yeah.
NA says I'll have a shot with you. I've actually ran out of tequila now, so I'm going to need to get some more.
This isn't going to be too happy.
Fact-based living says he challenges the mind of God to a game of electrical engineering Jeopardy.
All right, then we'll have a round of golf after.
that will be entertaining.
For $10 knockdown wheel, if the moon is local like the flat Earth model predicts, how come no one has ever seen or photographed the underside of it as it passes over? Lights don't have craters.
Darn it, I never got to asking about the moon. I'm kicking myself for that now.
Yeah, the moon is a mysterious thing because that I would say is kind of a weakness in the flat Earth apologetics, is just because we really do have to obviously understand it, but God made it and he's just playing with it basically.
At least you're okay, minus the God of the gap thing, at least you acknowledge that is a Achilles heel with the flat Earth movement.
Yeah, I had a discussion with MC2 recently, and I had to say what our weaknesses are and what the strengths are on both sides. So it's a fair statement, if the ball Earth model, which I'm assuming has like developed, has predictive capability. I mean, we don't have everything figured out. So.
To follow up on that, MC2, and if you guys aren't subscribed to him, I would highly subscribe you do, because what
he's a
Mind
nice
of
guy.
God just said there is he's starting a series. I think it's called Coffee with Flat Earthers or something.
I wasn't drinking coffee, but yeah.
And Mind of God is his first one. I think it goes live tomorrow, so subscribe to MC2 and have a look at that, because I think that'd be quite interesting.
Yeah, he's a computer science guy. He's a good guy.
Yeah. Marc Andre Brunet, education is important for the next generation. Yes, it most certainly is. $5 from the Athens 619. Leave religion out of science. It doesn't mean jack shit. Okay.
Well, I just wanted just to address that. Like, I only said that just because, like, yes, like, now these people aren't extremely religious, but yeah, I mean, I just wanted to say that out there. It says that science isn't automatically atheism.
Yeah. $5 from Flat Out. Mind of God, stop embarrassing us real flat earthers.
Who is that?
It's Flat Out.
He's the best flat earther out there.
He's
you should go take a look at his channel.
Oh my God, please, I beg you, do whatever you can to make sure I never debate that guy. He scares the hell out of me.
Bible underpinned flat earther, or just
you're going to be debating Flat Out
He's
Hero.
just the best flat earther. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. I'll take Southern Israelite before I take on Flat Out.
I think this is $10 from Verlin. What do you think of a theory means jack all to what scientific consensus describes it as? Well, that's right. Your definition of a theory, Mind of God, is very, very wrong.
But it's a non-exhaustive claim to explain something. That's the way I see it.
I would thoroughly advise looking up the definition of theory, scientific theory, and scientific law, and it might help you in these conversations.
I will right after this.
Okay. $5 from Moza43. Mr. Cheswick told me to give you to this FTFE. He also said he secretly has a thing for you. I know. Mr. Cheswick's channel is just like an advert for me. It's brilliant.
That song he made is hilarious. You got to admit that. That is incredible.
The song he did is pretty funny. Yeah.
Wow.
$5 for Fact-Based Living. Can't wait for Saturday. Need to give you better tools to explain aircraft and gyros. Yep, Fact-Based Living's invited me on to a hangout with him and Ali B to have a talk about aircraft instruments. I'm looking forward to that.
Hey, Craig, after the super chats, I have something to say.
Okay, just two more. $10 from Harry Wheeler. Great job. Thank you. I've enjoyed doing this. So I think I might try and host a few more debates. And €5 from Rocket Scientist. Mind of God, stupidity like yours impedes the progress of science. This is why it pisses us off.
Just tell them it's only about 5 more years till you have to deal with my garbage. So,
well,
I'm thinking much sooner, depending on one of your flat Earth experimentation and research goes. But I'm not.
I think it's.
I'm not saying anything with any authority.
I think it's sooner too. Don't worry.
All right, Piggy, what have you got to say, bud?
So after we are all gone and this stream ends, we are going to be moving to UDSA to chill out in the voice chat, to have a conversation. So I'm going to post that link in the live chat right now.
Okie dokie. Well, guys, thank you to Professor Games for coming on. Thank you, Mind of God, for coming on. And thank you to Jared for moderating. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.
Take care.
We're living on a disk, floating through space, with a tiny